But I want to start with Donna, Donna, the campaign says that Harris is looking for someone to fight for the middle class, protect freedoms. You just heard what Gabe Gutierrez was saying, that they're looking for in a partner. How do you think this process is going, and who do you think best fits that bill?
Well, first of all, I think Democrats have an amazing array of choices. And Kamala Harris certainly does in this process. On that screen, you showed 5 governors, a senator, and a transportation secretary. It is an amazing group of people. And so there's not going to be a bad choice. And I think voters and Democrats are going to trust Kamala Harris to choose the person that she wants to work with for the next 4 years to deliver for the middle class. My money is on Tim Walz, an effective Midwest governor who's a straight talker, a veteran, really effective in Minnesota. But any of the choices on that screen or not even on that screen, the Democrats have a really deep bench. And I think it's going to be a combination that is going to deliver the election for Democrats in November.
Yeah, Donna, so what about the famous blue wall? Should they be looking at someone from one of those states to maybe, shore them up on something that's so important for Democrats as well as for Republicans? But I mean, that blue wall specifically.
Well, I mean, part of the reason that I've kind of landed on Tim Walz, apart from the fact that I served with him, he was in my class in Congress. I know him well. And I think he's been a really effective governor. He's in Minnesota. Bordering Wisconsin, will have a ripple effect, I think, across that blue wall, including working families throughout Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan. And so, look, there is not a single person on that list who isn't going to be a good choice for very different reasons for Kamala Harris. She will make the right choice. We'll trust that choice. And I think voters are going to get behind it.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan, Republicans in Pennsylvania are worried about Shapiro getting picked. They think it could spell trouble for the GOP. Why do you think that is?
Well, he's an effective communicator as well, and I think he offers an image that is much more future-oriented than Tim Walz does, who is one of the older candidates there on screen. And Pennsylvania is, of all of the blue wall states, that is the most critical. If Kamala Harris loses Pennsylvania, her chances of becoming president are very low. And so that is a critical state. And yeah, people who are the best communicators, I think that's really important. But you also want to be able to demonstrate that you are a serious governing duo. And I think that's a particular, you always want someone who could govern. But I think that is particularly important right now, given the choice of J.D. Vance. That just, by contrast, appears to be a very unserious slate on the Republican side. J.D. Vance, I think, has disappointed a lot of people in the way that he has come out. And if Kamala Harris can choose someone that demonstrates that they have a serious, governing, focused ticket, I think that would be a really good contrast for the Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, speaking of J.D. Vance, he was questioned again about his 2021 comments that Democratic leaders, including Harris, are childless cat ladies who don't have a direct stake in the country and shouldn't be leading it. Here's what he said on Fox.
Do you agree that there are people who very much love this country and are invested in its future, but they also happen to be childless?
Oh, of course I believe that, Trey. And if you look at the full context of what I said, it's very clear the Democrats have tried to take this thing out of context and blow it out of proportion. Of course, for a whole host of reasons, it's not going to work out for some people. We should pray for those people and, of course, have sympathy for them. I still think that means we should be pro-family, generally speaking, as a party. And I think that our country has become particularly hard for parents, especially under the policies of Kamala Harris.
Jonathan, is this something that could blow over, or is this going to just continue having an impact and maybe a long-term impact?
Well, I think it has a long-term impact for a couple of reasons, Jose. Number one, when you listen to that clip, he's not allowing at all for the possibility that women might choose not to get pregnant in the first place and that it's their freedom to do so. This is a guy who talks about liberty, talks about freedom, talks about big government staying out of people's lives. And here he is saying Basically, the big government should be in women's lives to the point that the government is, if not forcing them to become pregnant, to at least encourage them. One of the other comments that he had made was that people who don't have children should pay higher taxes than people who have children. And honestly, they already do. So I'm not sure whether that's something that's disingenuous on his part or something that is ignorant on his part as a United States Senator to not know about things like dependent tax credits, about child tax credits, about FSAs, and all the various ways in which the federal government already gives advantage to people with children. But beyond, and I guess thirdly, what I would just say is, talking insensitively about Americans is probably not a good way to attract them to vote for your ticket.
I think that's a very kind of important statement. Donna, how big of an issue do you think this is for Trump at this point?
Well, I think it's huge. I mean, I think it demonstrates that this is a ticket, especially with J.D. Vance, that simply is not ready for prime time. It's almost like we're talking about Kamala Harris having a short period of time to vet candidates. It's almost like they did no vetting of J.D. Vance. It isn't just his comments about childless cat ladies, and I hope my cat doesn't run behind me, but it's also his comments about women staying in abusive relationships, about limiting women's access to reproductive care. It's a whole host of things that will offend an awful big part of the electorate. And so I think it is a real problem. And he is not going to be a governing partner. He's barely been a senator, hasn't really done anything with his life. The quality of J.D. Vance compared to the quality of the people that Kamala Harris is looking to choose for vice president is like night and day.
Brennan, Senator Schumer says that the Vance pick actually helps Democrats. Can a VP pick actually sway things?
Yeah, I don't think a VP pick really wins you anything, but it can certainly hurt you, and we're certainly seeing that already. Look, nobody likes a scold, and that is what J.D. Vance has demonstrated that he is. And I think what people are offended by is a 39-year-old man telling everybody how to live their lives. I mean, look, there are a lot of people who are effective communicators for pro-family values, but as Jonathan said, you don't do that by attacking other people. So I think he absolutely is a vulnerability that will help Democrats in a way that is just unforced error. Mike Pence, for all the stuff that he put up with, never put really Donald Trump in any real difficult position. To great pains, he did whatever really Donald Trump did and stayed in the background. And the fact that you have your VP sticking out is not helpful. Usually, I worked for Paul Ryan when he was a VP. You want to promote the top of the ticket and you want to attack the other side. And if you're drawing attention to yourself like Sarah Palin did, you're not helping the ticket at all. So they're going to have to get their act together, train their focus more on Kamala Harris's record, or else this is going to continue to be an unhelpful story for them.
I mean, Jonathan, is that something that the Trump campaign can actually do? How are they going to be handling this going forward?
I mean, this is the first time I can remember that Donald Trump has not been able to drive news cycles. Number one, obviously the Democratic chaos for a few weeks was driving news cycles, and now Kamala Harris's transition into candidate status, all the money she's getting, all the support that she's gotten from a now unified Democratic Party is dominating news cycles. And on the Republican side, it's J.D. Vance. And to Brendan's point, if you were the vice presidential candidate and you're sucking oxygen away from the presidential candidate, and who thought that that would happen to Donald Trump at any point, you are hurting your ticket. So it'll be interesting to see how the Trump team adjusts to this sort of new reality and what they do to put the candidate out front first and try to get rid of these negative storylines on Vance. But, for the time being, Vance is doing damage.